Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. We are rapidly approaching the end of November, which means it's that time of the year when we start thinking about Christmas, if we haven't already started thinking about it. So I hope you guys are starting to think about that. I am starting to think about it. I've really only got as far as going, oh yeah, it's coming up on Christmas. I should start thinking about that. So I've started thinking about Christmas. I haven't actually started thinking about Christmas yet. I'm just thinking about Christmas. If you follow. So some of you may not actually be at that particular stage yet. Maybe you're thinking about Christmas. In which case, you probably need to get your skates on and move on to the next stage, which is thinking about Christmas. So the reason why I say this is because it's also that time of the year when we start our Christmas songwriting challenge. Having just done the Halloween one, which was feckin' brilliant, and all the entries were great. And I think we had a very worthy winner this year, for which I am particularly excited, to be honest. It's been a really, really good year this year. So I'm really excited for what you guys are going to do with this particular Christmas songwriting challenge that is coming up. So before we get to that, let's see who is here. And Tony Stringert was first in the door. Congratulations to you, Tony, for being so bright and early. And then, of course, Billy was in just under an hour after that. Followed by Eric Peterson, and Carl Traduziak is here. Dwayne is here. Don Oliver is here. Stevie Wilson is here. And so far, that is all we have. So we probably, before we get into announcing anything, probably need to start. We need to just wait for a few more people to get in the door. Peter Bricks is here. Alpha Omega, I don't remember who you are now that YouTube has changed everything so that basically your username, your actual name is no longer your username, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. So you're going to have to remind me what your actual names are. Unless you are able to go into your YouTube channel, into your settings, and change your handle. If you are, I recommend doing that. Because I know channel names, they make sense to you, but, I like to know who people are. But if you only want to be known by your channel name, that's fine as well. I don't mind. Yeah, before Christmas is Black Friday. Yeah, Steely Dan wrote a really rather awesome song called Black Friday. Which, by the way, has nothing to do with, going out and buying things super duper cheap. The original Black Friday took place way back in 1929, which is when you had the okay, you want to be known as Alpha, no problem. So back in 1929, there was the Great Wall Street crash of 1929 when basically the stock market collapsed in on itself, which led to a chain reaction of economic collapses around the world, which meant that vast numbers of people became unemployed immediately because businesses just collapsed and disappeared almost overnight in some cases. Some businesses that have been in existence for, over 100 years, they just went out of business overnight, ceased to exist, and all their employees were instantly laid off. And so that's what the original Black Friday was, for those of you that don't know. I am a bit of a history nerd, a bit of a history buff. So I enjoy kind of finding out about all of these world events. And of course, the cataclysmia that developed as a result of the world economy collapsing in on itself meant that in the Western world, particularly in Europe, there was a massive amount of unemployment, as well as in the United States. But it also meant that there were shortages of food and all sorts, and countries like Germany just descended into utter chaos. There were riots and all sorts of things that happened. And of course, the rise of the Nazi Party happened at that particular time as well. So kind of world economic, the world economy just goes completely tits up. And the Nazi Party basically sees that as a moment, as an opportunity to claw their way to the top and become incredibly powerful. And of course, that led then to World War II. So, cataclysmic chain of events. You can tie it all the way back to the original Black Friday in 1929. So there we go. And Steely Dan wrote a song all about that, which they call Black Friday, and it's basically a rock shuffle, and it's very, very cool. It's got the late great Jeff Porcaro on drums on it, and it's a great, great, great song. But anyway, that's really kind of more of a subject for Songwriting Simplified, and maybe we should talk about songs like that have historical reference to world events. There's loads of songs, so maybe we should do a show where actually we just talk about songs that we know, popular songs that we know throughout the decades, maybe even throughout the centuries, that actually refer to historical events. Because there's loads of them. There's nursery rhymes that feature historical events. London Bridge is Burning Down is one of those. And so yeah, there's loads. So we got a new person here today, which is William Songs. Welcome. And he says, glad I found this. We are very glad to have found you amongst us. So welcome, William. I'm very glad you're here. So since we have a new person, what I'm about to say is going to make a special sense, because most people here at the moment are regulars. So welcome to this little community of regulars there, William. These folks are amongst the best people on the internet, and they will look after you, and you will have a great time here. And Rich Cresswell says, to be added to the challenge, connect here if you have never before. Yes, because we have a new workspace for that. Details on the challenge coming up in just a few minutes, so stick around if you want to hear about that. I'm going to talk about what the rules are, or the guidelines, more specifically. Going to talk about that in just a minute. William, just so that you know, Sunday Night Live is the show where we talk about Studio One, and we also talk about recording, mixing, and mastering in general. So this show and the show that happens on Wednesday at the same time, they are both Q&A shows, but they have a different focus. So this show is more to do with recording, mixing, mastering, specifically in Studio One, but we can cover things more broadly. Okay, your name is Rick. Rick, I will take that on board. Thank you. William Song. Williams. Okay, Williamson is your last name. Okay, that's cool. So you are Rick Williamson. Cool. No problem. All right, so as I was saying, so they are both Q&A shows. But Sunday Night Live is more about recording, mixing, mastering, and Studio One. So you can ask all your questions about that in this show. And the best way to ask a question is to type at Jonny Lipsham Studios. And when you do, you'll be able to, you'll see that my name comes up for you to select when you start typing it. Select it. And what happens is that highlights my name in red, which means I know that you have a question for me. And it means that because it's red, it sticks out like a sore thumb in the chat, and I can see it more easily, and I don't miss questions. We got Peter Beta here from Montreal, Canada. Welcome. This is exciting. This is cool. We got people from all over the world here. I love it. Welcome to Scotland, everybody. Russell Harris is here as well. Glad to be here tonight. Well, we're glad to have you here as well, Russell. Welcome. So that's Sunday Night Live. Songwriting Simplified. On Wednesday, we talk about songwriting, obviously, hence the title. But we also talk about composing, arranging, and that can be arranging for horn section, for strings, for choir, for vocal group, whatever arranging needs you have. But we also talk about music theory as well. So if you've got questions about music theory that you want to know, we do, a little bit of a deep dive. We talk about scales, modes. We talk about chords. We talk about harmony. We talk about key signatures. We talk about all sorts of stuff. And the idea is that, I take something that is complex or could be considered complex, and I break it down into something that is simple, songwriting simplified. And the idea is that you are therefore equipped with these tools to be able to make better music and to be able to make more interesting and more exciting music filled with more interesting stuff. Ear candy, chords you've never used before, things like that. So that's what we do on Wednesdays. So normally I would announce a songwriting challenge on a Wednesday show, but we didn't do it last week, so we're doing it tonight. So for those of you that have never been involved in this before, for the last 3 years, I think it's 3, I don't think it's more than 3, we have done a competition on Halloween and a competition at Christmas time. So basically 2 every year for the last 3 years. And there has been a prize to be won at each one of these competitions. And there have been specific briefs that you must fulfill in your composition or your song in order to put yourself within a good chance of winning. And so the Christmas one tends to be the most kind of open with the fewest amount of rules, to be honest. And so this year is no different. So I'm going to quickly run through what that is. And listen carefully, because it's not actually complicated, but at the same time, there are some things to kind of pay attention to. So this is what Rich and I have agreed in conversation today. So you can choose from any of the scales that we have covered over the last 3 years. And so we have introduced you guys to some weird and wacky and wonderful scales. You can use those. You can also do your own little bit of research and find a completely different scale that you might want to use as a basis for your piece. So you could use that B. Locrian Natural 6 scale if you want to write a spooky Christmas song. If you really want to write a weird sounding Christmas song, you can do that. Or you can use Phrygian. Phrygian sounds very weird. Or Locrian, for example. Those are kind of weirdish sounding scales that if you want to do a weird Christmas song, have at it. Go use those scales. So you can use any scale either throughout the duration of your piece, or you can use a different scale for a different part of the piece altogether. So you could use mixed Lydian mode for one section, and maybe for verses, and then your chorus maybe in Phrygian or Locrian mode, or whatever you want to do. It's entirely up to you. So there are no restrictions. You can do it strictly major minor diatonic if you want, or you can create yourself a little 12-note row, as in the 12-tone system of Schoenberg, Webern, and Berg, and early 20th century classical composers like that. You could go completely Hans Zimmer and John Williams if you really want to. There are literally no restrictions. However, there are bonus points up for grabs, just like there were for the Halloween one. So bonus points to anyone that themes their song around Christmas and what it means to them. So when I say Christmas, you can be as kind of, religious about that as you want, or you can be as secular about that as you want. So if you are not a religious person, you're not Christian in any way, shape, or form. So the kind of the Christian side of Christmas doesn't apply to you. That's fine. You can be actually as secular as you want to be about it and just talk about what this particular period of the year means to you. And get that across in your song. Although it doesn't need to be themed, you will be in a greater chance, however. If you don't theme it, you'll need to make sure that your song is completely, to use Rich's words here, badass. And creativity will always be king. All right? So go for it. Be as creative as you possibly can. Creativity is king. But there are bonus points if you actually really kind of get into kind of what Christmas means to you, either from a religious point of view or a non-religious secular point of view. For example, maybe you'd rather write something because you're Jewish. Maybe you'd rather write something about Hanukkah. That's cool. Go for it. Totally. It's, it's kind of roughly the same kind of time of year, although not always, because the Hebrew calendar is a lunar one, whereas the Western world, it's not. It's Gregorian, which means it's a solar calendar. So, it doesn't always fall. But when it does fall at the same time, it's particularly cool. I'm of a Jewish background, although I'm Christian, so I get to celebrate both. Lucky me. So, so you can be as religious or as secular as you want to be. Don't really mind. It's entirely your call, because although I'm Christian, I know that Rich is certainly not. So that's why we're kind of making it about what this period of the year means to you. What does it mean to you? It might mean absolutely, nothing from a religious point of view, but maybe it means more to you from a family point of view, or maybe, it's a chance for you to see people that you don't often see. You can talk about that in your song, and that would actually be very, very cool. And of course, bonus points are available for that. There is a new workspace set up already. So, and Rich has already alluded to this. He's already said, you just need to connect with Rich via my.personas.com. And I believe he has already put a link in to his my.personas.com profile, or you can just say, I'm in. So if you say, I'm in, or you tag Rich in the chat, and he will then connect with you, and then you are good to go. He will get you invited to the workspace. Now, just for those of you that don't know what workspaces are, we created, now when I say we, I mean Personas. We created workspaces as part of the what used to be called Personasphere. It's now called Studio One Pro Plus. So it's part of the membership. So only members get to create workspaces. So that means me, Rich. Rich is a member, so he gets to create these workspaces. But anybody who has a my.personas.com account can join it. Does this mean you actually have to use Studio One? No, it doesn't. You don't have to. It's a lot easier if you do. And it's even easier if you use Studio One Pro 7. It's even easier. But you don't have to. All you need is a free my.personas.com account. Doesn't cost you anything to make one. You just go to my.personas.com, create yourself an account, and then it's dead easy to get connected with Rich. And then whatever DAW you use, it is possible to upload your files to your finished song, an MP3 of your finished song to the workspace. That's easy enough. It's, like I said, it's even easier if you are using Studio One Pro 7 or you're using Studio One 6. It's even easier, especially if you're a member of Studio One Pro Plus, because the integration between Studio One and the workspace is like that. It's perfect. The integration is absolutely perfect. It's as if you have Dropbox built into Studio One, basically, and everything uploads and syncs immediately. So workspaces are brilliant for that purpose. So that's the meat and veg of the challenge. So you're probably now wanting to know, okay, this is great. So we can start straight away. Yes, you can start straight away tonight working on your song. The closing date is gonna be, I'm going to make a bit of a call on this. I wasn't going to, but I am actually going to make a bit of a call. I'm going to explain why just now first. So, this year, the dates are pretty amazing because Christmas Eve is on a Wednesday. Normally, we'd have Songwriting Simplified on Wednesdays. So, but I need to check with my family to make sure that we are going to be home and all of that. For, I don't want to get in the way of, kind of family stuff at Christmas Eve. And I don't want you guys to kind of be drawn away from family to come and sit and watch a YouTube show for an hour. So I was thinking that we could have done like the announcement of who the winner is on Christmas Eve, but I'm not going to do that. So the closing date will be December 19th. And we will announce the winner on Sunday, on the Sunday Night Live show on the 21st. And then that means that keeps kind of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day kind of safe from, getting all caught up with family and things like that. I don't want that to happen for me. I don't want that to happen for you guys. So the 21st is going to be the Christmas special show. Okay, so that's when we'll unveil the winner on that show. And then the Wednesday of that week is the 24th, and that's going to be Christmas Eve. There will be no show. Because it's Christmas Eve, and me and my wife will be wanting to kind of, do all the finishing up of preparing for Christmas Day. And I'm sure you guys will want to do that as well. And so the next show after Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, is going to be on the 28th, which will be the final Sunday Night Live of 2025. But, and here's the really cool part, on the 31st of December, it's obviously New Year's Eve. Now, what do we call New Year's Eve in Scotland? We call it Hogmanay. That's the Gaelic word. So we call it Hogmanay here in Scotland. So we will be having a Hogmanay show at 1 a.m. UK time. That's going to be 7 p.m. Central on the 31st, which ordinarily would be a Songwriting Simplified night anyway, but it will be the Hogmanay / New Year's Eve show. I will already be in 2026 because it'll be 1 a.m. for me, but for you guys in the United States, it'll be 7 p.m. Central, okay? So mark those dates in your calendars so that you know what's coming up and what's going to be happening. And then we will be into January, and we'll have New Year's Day and all of that stuff going off. And so the first show of 2026 will be January 4th, which will be Sunday Night Live. So there you go. That's kind of how Christmas is going to unfold and how this challenge is going to fit into it. So mark those, as I say, in your calendar, and be aware of what's happening and when. Okay. So closing date is December 19th. Winner announced on the 21st. So that is gonna, that's how it's gonna work. And Rich Cresswell says you would tag like this, and then he shows at Jonny Lipsham Studios. That's exactly right. And that is how you tag me to ask a question. So there we go. Are you going to play any entries and the winner? Of course we will. That's how it works every contest, Bob. We do that every time. So we did that with the Halloween one. We did that with Christmas and Halloween last year. We will do that with this year as well. Actually, did we? I think we played the winner. I don't know that we played entries. I think we only played the winner. I don't remember, to be honest. But yes. But yes, we will. And Rich says he's culturally Christian. Yeah, so Rich would acknowledge most of the traditions of Christmas from a cultural point of view. That's cool. So yes, we will play the winner for sure, and we may well play some of our favorite entries as well. But yes, I think we only played the winner for the Halloween. And that's I think we just kind of, I think time just kind of ran away with us for the Halloween show. Sorry about that. Yeah, we only played the winner. We didn't really actually have much time to play the other ones, which is why we basically said, hey, go into the workspace and listen to all the entries. They are all there. However, you can no longer do that because the Halloween workspace is now gone. Basically, we have to create a new workspace for each challenge. So 48 hours after the challenge is completed and winners are announced. So 48 hours after the winner announcing show, the workspace just goes bye-bye. We have to do that, unfortunately. And then everybody has to basically enter afresh. And this is because we ran into some issues where we tried to reuse a pre-existing workspace and just change the name of it and change the cover picture and everything else. But what happened was somebody that had been in it then left, then changed their email address, and then wanted to re-enter, and for some reason they couldn't get into the workspace. And so as a result of that, we've just basically just decided this is probably the best way forward. 2 days, 48 hours after winners are announced, the workspace goes away. So if you want to listen to entries, you can listen to them in the workspace. You can listen to them in the workspace. Everybody's entries will be there. There will be a submission folder. And in the submission folders, that is where you will put your final entries. So the one that you want us to listen to, that's where you need to put your entries. Okay, that where you want me and Rich to listen to them, that's where you put those. So Rich has posted his email address. Brave man, braver than me. Although that said, my website is down the bottom. If you go to that and you hit contact us form, that will send an email to me as well. But you can't actually join the workspace if you email me. Won't work. So if you want to join and you are not a member of Studio One Pro Plus, then you can email richcresswell82@gmail.com. So you can get into that if you are not a member already. If you are a member, then you just hook up with Rich via the membership. Easy enough to do. Let me see what else is being said here. I'm going, premeditated plan is here. And yes, you're late, but that's okay. Dave is here as well. VCR Repairman is also here, and I missed them coming in the door. Peter Brooks says, I have a question. Okay, yeah, just type your question here, Peter. And the best thing to do is start it with @JonnyLipsham Studios. That way I'm not going to miss it. Juan has already done that. So if you want to see an example of how to ask a question, check his question out. He says, since I've been using Studio One Plus, I started a workspace for collaboration, but I still need to know two things. First, if I upload a song to the workspace and I make a modification, how do I update it? And secondly, if I have a plugin and you don't, you still see the audio with the plugin. Okay, I'm going to answer the second one first. I'm going to do this in reverse order. So if your collaborator doesn't have the same plugins that you do, when they open the song on their local computer, basically Studio One will look for those plugins and obviously will not find them. So the other person will just get missing devices errors. It'll just say missing device, and then a dialog will come up saying missing devices, and then it'll list all the plugins that it doesn't find. So the best way is to make sure that the person you're working with has the same plugins. If they don't, and you know that they don't have, like maybe you're using the IK Multimedia Hammond B3, for example, and you know that the person that you're working with doesn't have that, the best thing you can do is to right-click the track with that plugin on it, maybe the IK Multimedia Hammond B3 that I'm talking about, or it could be any other plugin. Right-click that track and choose the option Transform to Rendered Audio. And then what that will do is that will basically print that plugin and anything that's in the inserts to the audio. Okay? And then when you update the song to the collaboration, then when they open it at their end, all they'll have is they'll have the audio file with that plugin printed to it. Right? So it's IK Multimedia and some other EQ and some other third-party EQ and compressor that they don't have. The audio is just going to be baked into that. Okay? So basically it will print the audio through the insert bay and to the audio track. Okay? So that's how it'll handle plugins that your collaborator doesn't have. So that's part 2. Part 1, if you make a modification, how do you update it? Okay, so since you are the creator of the song, it's very, very easy. All you have to do is just save the song. Fundamentally. All you have to do is save it. Now, if you want to send like additional files, let's say you're working on your song, you've got the song in the workspace already, and let's say you do a bunch of extra guitar tracks because you think the song needs a bunch of extra guitar tracks. That's fine. So what you would do in that case is in the collaboration menu, there is a send and receive. There are two options. One's called send, one's called receive. So you do the send option, and then in the dialog box that appears, you select what you want to send, and then you hit send, and that basically sends those files to the song that's in the workspace. And then your collaborator who's at the other end, they'll get a notification that this song has some new files in it. And then what they can do is they can open the song, and then they can hit the receive option, and they will receive all of your guitar tracks. All right, so it's reciprocal. And the workspace basically acts as an intermediary in much the same way that if this were Dropbox and you're working out of a song based in Dropbox, which by the way, I don't recommend you do. But if you were to do that, you would be sending files to the Dropbox, and then your collaborator would then go and download those files out of Dropbox and drag them and drop them into Studio One. It just basically takes those steps out of the procedure altogether. It's just one button, send, one button, receive. And so your collaborator does the receiving bit, you do the sending bit. Or if your collaborator is the one that's doing the sending, then you do the receiving, right? So if your collaborator is a drummer, for example, and you want them to do drum tracks for your song, then they record their drum tracks into the song, they save the song, and then what they do is they then do the send. That sends to the song in the workspace. You get a notification that there are new files for that song. You open the song in Studio One on your computer and you hit receive, and you receive all of those files in exactly the correct location that they should be in the song, right? Complete with cuts and edits and all of that stuff. So that's how it works. It really is actually as simple as you think it should be. You know, the functionality of the workspace does take a little bit of getting your head around, but the actual collaboration process itself is as straightforward as you think it should be. It is very easy to overthink it. And a lot of people do that. And when they start overthinking it and they start then trying to add their own process and procedures to the process, that's when you start getting unstuck. Keep it nice, simple. Send, receive, send, receive. And when you do that, it will all work out beautifully. We've got 24 people, but we've only got 15 likes. I would like it very much if you'd be so very kind, those of you that have not yet hit the like button, if you would do that. Because that helps me. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm, because the YouTube algorithm goes, hey, there's a bunch of people that actually like this live stream, and maybe we ought to recommend that on the YouTube homepage, and then more people will find this show, like Rick Williamson has just found this show today. So I don't know how he came about finding it. I'd love to know that, actually. So Rick, if you're still here, please do drop into the chat how you found the show. That would be very, very cool. If you've come from one of the Facebook groups, great. That means to me that me putting up all my ads is working, and I just need to keep doing it. I need to be diligent and keep doing it. Carol says to Juan, file, collaboration, send. Correct. And then if you want to receive, file, collaboration, receive. It's reciprocal. But yeah, Kyle and Ron have been using the workspaces a lot. So those two guys are really the guys that can really help you, Juan, in getting to grips with collaborating using the workspace. And Rich is as well. I don't use it a lot, to be fair. Peter says, spending quality time with my 3 beautiful daughters and amazing wife. Congratulations on your 3 daughters and your amazing wife. That's awesome. I have an amazing wife as well. Been married for 18 years, nearly 19 years. And we have 3 kids as well. We have 2 at home with us here. I have an adopted daughter that I adopted years and years ago when I was like 20. And she is 35 now, and she lives down in England. But we won't hold that against her. But yeah, so I have 3 kids, and 2 of them are teenagers, and my eldest, like I said, is 35. So yes, family is important. Let's see. Lots of people saying I'm in, which is good. Rich says we can play more. Yes. You'll need to do it from your side though in browser, as I'll be at work but on the show unless I take my laptop. Okay, yeah, cool. I'm happy to play the tracks. No problem. No problem at all. And Rich says it's good practice to do a new workspace as things may change in the future. Plus, it is cleaner. It most certainly is. And Keith cloned himself for an extra life. That's kind of cheating, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Don't worry, spam bots. I don't need insurance or use this email anymore. Okay. Oh, you found it on Facebook in the Studio One Reveal group. Yeah. That's a great group. And I've got to say, Mike Enjo is a fabulous guy. I have had the pleasure of talking to him for probably a couple of hours on what used to be Skype. It's now Teams. But yeah, a few years back, I had a good opportunity to talk to him. And we talked for a good couple of hours. He's actually from the UK, but he lives in Australia. Again, I won't hold that against him. With the Ashes and everything else going on in Australia at the moment. England lost inside 2 days, the first test. But again, I will not be holding that against Mike. Mike's a great guy. And the Studio One Reveal group is a fantastic little group of people. So yeah, thanks Rick for coming and finding my show from there. Let's see. Don't ask me what any of that meant. Is there going to be a song for the mixers? No, there isn't this time. There isn't. Sorry about that, guys. It's just a time thing. Both Rich and myself are actually phenomenally busy at the moment. So we are really not going to have time to make a song that you guys can do remixes of. Sorry about that. But we will see about something. If you can collaborate with somebody that is... if you can collaborate with somebody that's doing a song, and maybe you could offer to mix their song, then we could consider that an entry. So we could consider the entry twice, but not for the same person. So we could consider an entry for the song, and then you could upload a version of it and just clearly label that you have done a collaborative mix. So you've worked with the songwriter and you've done a collaborative mix, and that may be the best way round that, to be honest. Don't forget the heart and underlying emojis also help Johnny's show when clicked. Yes, Bob is absolutely right. Yes, the little heart down at the... I'm going to make... it might be over here for you guys. Oh, it's over here for me, but it's probably over here for you in the corner where the chat is. At the bottom, where you kind of do your typing. There are emojis there. Use the emojis. There's also a heart button. Click on the heart button, select which one you want to just spam with, and just spam the button. I'll show you what I mean. So if I go and do the heart thing, and I just spam the heart thing like this, you can pick any of those that are there, and that could be quite fun to get those going. And it actually apparently does make a difference. I thought it was a bit of a gimmick, and it doesn't, but actually it does. That heart interaction apparently does make a difference. The algorithm does actually count those. Didn't think it did, but it does. Let's see. Eric Peterson, who is from the Presona Studio One Facebook group. And by the way, he's actually, I have to say this, Eric is really, really helpful over there. He writes some extremely detailed answers to people, and he's extremely helpful. So Eric, thank you for all of your contributions in that group. We appreciate it. Me and Johnny Guy together, between the two of us, we run that group. And we are very, very thankful for people like you, Eric, because you make our lives easier. So thank you. And he says, I'm finally discovering that Presence has an editor. The only video I can find is about 10 years old. Is there any chance you could ever make one? I have the manual open. Okay, so Rich says he's happy to do something on that if useful. I make instruments for Presence and scripts too. Yes, so Rich is probably going to be your best bet, because Rich actually makes instruments for Presence. He's done a bunch of those. So he's probably your best bet. However, what I will say about the Presence editor, it used to be an add-on. that you had to purchase. And it was like that for years. And then with the with Studio One Pro 7, when we launched that, we just decided that Presence Editor should no longer be an add-on. It should just be a part of Presence. And so it is. So that's probably why you're just discovering it, because it's now a part of Presence and no longer just an add-on. So you now get the Presence Editor for free, which basically means you can actually make your own sounds for Presence. And Rich is our resident expert on Presence and making sounds. He has done that kind of thing for a job. So if anybody is going to know how to get the best out of Presence Editor, it's going to be Rich Cresswell for sure. So definitely hook up with him. It's not really my bag. I don't make instruments. I just use them is what I do. I'm a little bit like Joe Gilder in as much as I'm mostly an audio guy and I supplement with MIDI where I need it. And that's it. That's as far as my MIDI use goes. It's just if I need to mock up a bass part, I'm a bass player, but I like to sometimes mock up a bass part using Presence or another bass instrument like UJam, virtual bassist. So I like to mock up a bass part when I'm in the songwriting phase, and then I will replace that with one of my basses from over there. Either my fretted jazz bass or my fretless jazz bass. For the most part, fretless, because I'm a fretless guy. But you know, sometimes a song needs a bit of a slap and tickle, and that's where the fretted bass comes in handy. And so, you know, that's where I use MIDI. I use MIDI for doing mock-ups of instruments that I'm going to replace with real people. So if I'm doing horn section stuff, I use Presence because I know the Presence horn section sounds are not the best. They're a bit pants, to be really honest, but I know that I'm going to replace them with real people. And so, so I'm not really worried about how they actually sound in the virtual instrument world, because they're always going to be just replaced with real musicians anyway. Either myself, because I can play trumpet, I can play saxophone, or I'm going to hire people that are way better than me, like Ben Castle, who's a very good friend and is a phenomenal saxophone player. Or my dad. I have two dads. One is a woodwind specialist. The other is like he plays fretless and fretted kind of guitar instruments. And so if I need acoustic guitars, or I need a mandolin, or I need banjo or mandala or bouzouki or something like that, my dad will do those. My other dad will play my sort of estranged. I've not seen him for a few years. Dad. He will come and play soprano and tenor and alto saxophone, and that's kind of the sax part of my horn section. And then I will add trumpet and flugelhorn to those myself. So yes, I always replace virtual instruments with real people, because you can't beat real people. And sometimes I might blend the two together. I might blend the real and the virtual together. And so that's kind of how I do most of my work. The exceptions have been the orchestral stuff that I've done recently for Halloween challenges, because I don't have access to an orchestra, and I don't also have a whole ton of money for buying really expensive orchestral libraries. So I don't have all of the really expensive orchestral libraries that sound ultra realistic, because I don't do, really, for me personally, I don't do enough orchestral stuff to justify purchasing those things. For the most part, if I do orchestral stuff, it's either for student films for one of the universities in Edinburgh that I work with, and I work with their film studies departments, and I do incidental music and scores for student films, and I don't charge for that at all. And then, of course, you know, the Halloween challenges, I've set myself the challenge of doing orchestral stuff, because orchestral stuff is not really my bag. Really, honestly, I'm a jazz guy. Most of you here know I'm a jazz guy. So, you know, kind of big band is my, from an arranger's point of view and a composer's point of view, big band is my sound. That's my thing. But I've been deciding to do some orchestral stuff recently, and I'm actually quite pleased with the results. Is it the next, you know, John Williams or Hans Zimmer? No. Am I as good as Rich Cresswell at that kind of thing? No. But, you know, it's actually people like Rich who've encouraged me to kind of stretch out into things like orchestral stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of what I've been getting into, and I've actually been really enjoying it a lot. It's been lots of fun. Kyle says JL keeps his basses in the basement. Yeah, the basement is right back there. Although that said, there is an Ibanez AGR 70 guitar back there as well. Because I play a bit of guitar. I'm not very good. I can't play basic chords. I can only play weird kind of exotic chords. Those are the only things I can play on a guitar. So you'll never catch me strumming G, D, and G, A, and D, and E minor and that kind of stuff, because that's not my thing. I don't know how to play those chords, to be really honest. Okay, yeah, Lord, I'm going to forget people's names here. Rick Williamson. There we go. I think I got it. Yeah, you got to do the whole Jonny Lipsham Studios if you want my name to show up in red, so I don't miss your question. Newbie question: is there a list anywhere of the individual instruments included in the Studio One instrument plugins? Yes, there are. If you open up Presence, you'll see a list of all of the presets that are available in Presence. There are lots of instruments, and most of the time they are categorized in folders. So, for example, there's a guitars folder, there's a winds folder, which I think is hilarious that they called it winds. But anyway, that's just my immaturity that I have to overcome. And there's, you know, there's vocals, there's percussion, then there's strings. So they tend to be categorized, and you can just open up and find out what's in there. Plus, on top of what you have with Presence, you also have some synthesizers as well. You've got Mai Tai, you've got Mojito, you've got Impact, which is the drum sampler. You've got Sample One, which you can sample anything and chop that up and create new sounds in Sample One. Then you can even send them to Impact and build an Impact kit made out of stuff that you've recorded. I've done that. I have a whole Impact kit that's just basically sound effects from stuff that I have made using this microphone I'm talking into. And then, of course, there are the new instruments that come with Studio One Pro 7, which you will find in the instrument rack. In the browser, you'll find them there. And they're kind of all kind of similar. They have a similar GUI, but they all have different things. Like there's one that's called Cinematic Lights, which has a little bit more of an orchestral kind of sound to it. You've got Deep Flight 1. You've got Lead Architect, which is great because it's got lots of lead sounds to it. So yeah, there's those. And that's pretty much everything that comes as standard inside of Studio One. So you've got Presence, which is the sample player. You've got Sample One, which you can sample pretty much anything. In fact, you can make an entire Impact kit, multi-layered, of farts if you want to. And other kind of body sounds, and make a body drum kit if you want. And as Rich says there, if you expand Presence with the little carrot icon, the little arrow icon, it'll show you a list of everything that is in it. right? And then you can just drag them onto a new track. And by the way, when you do that, I mean, you don't even have to drag it onto a track. Just drag it into the arranger space, right? And when you do that, it loads in Impact and that preset. So it's really, really, really very, very handy. You can work either way you want. Juan says, that's a good idea for a 26 challenge. Compose an orchestral theme and the price will be a real orchestra playing it. Well, whilst that is a great idea, and I don't disagree with that, having a real orchestra perform that live at a concert, that would be extremely expensive. I do know that the English Session Orchestra, which I have worked with, I've actually been a part of the English Session Orchestra whilst I was living down in England, in London. And I worked as part of the English Session Orchestra for a while. And basically what they do is they do a lot of film scores. And so I got to play timpani, I got to play all sorts of percussion stuff, and I got to play drums, and I played some piano as well for different things when it was required. But the English Sessions Orchestra, for a while, they were running this program where if you submitted your work to them for a particular fee, they would record it at not at Abbey Road Studios. They would record it at Air Studios or one of the other studios in London. Sadly, Air Studios is no more, which is really sad because I used to work there a lot doing film scores back in the day. So very sad to see that studio has closed its doors. It's one of the great studios for doing film scores that's not Abbey Road. If you can afford Abbey Road, go record your score at Abbey Road. And if you've got the budget for recording at Abbey Road, hire the London Symphony Orchestra. Absolutely. But yeah, it would be incredibly expensive, but that's a very nice idea. If I was really, really rich and had the budget for being able to do something like that, we would do it. No question. Let's see, what else do we have? Rich says, I don't have thousands to give away. Yeah, neither of us do. Keith says, my local high school orchestra. Would my local high school orchestra do? Maybe. Kind of depends. But again, you know, we would want to pay them for their time, and that would be expensive. Nose flutists are cheap as well as tooth twangers. Right. Rich says, I will be doing a session afterwards if anyone has any questions about the challenge. Yes, so if you want to join Rich for a Lander session, which will be starting right after this show, which finishes in literally 1 minute's time. Matt has just joined us. Zazu Matt, glad you're here, Matt. You've joined at I recommend you watch the replay, is what I'll say, because we've unveiled the Christmas Songwriting Challenge for 2025. Sean says, I'm about to need for at least 3 to 4 inputs for background vocals. Suggestions on gear. Any interface that has 4 inputs. So there's the ES4, the PreSonus ES4, which was released just I think it was last year. Man, was it 2 years ago? It's either last year or the year before. Can't quite remember. But the ES4 is awesome. It's a wonderful device. If you can afford the Quantum HD8, that has 8 inputs. And it's got reamping and stuff like that as well. But otherwise, any interface that gives you 4 inputs. Obviously, I'm going to recommend PreSonus over any of the competitors in the market. for obvious reasons, you know, this channel is sponsored by PreSonus, but I also work for the company as well. So yes, I'm obviously going to recommend you you get an interface that has 4 inputs, especially if you're going to record all 4 people at the same time. So if you're going to overdub, you don't need 4 inputs. You just record one person at a time, right? You get one person to lay down their part one at a time. You can do it that way if you have limited I/O. I did that for years. I had a 2-channel audio box, and I had that thing for years, and I made an album, and I made an EP, and I made countless other recordings for lots and lots of clients around the world for over 10 years. And then I got the 1824C, which gave me a whole bunch more inputs. And it's overkill. Frankly, I'm only one person in this studio, so I don't need all the inputs. But the converters for the HD8 are freaking awesome. They are the best on the planet, in my opinion. For this particular price point, you can't beat the Quantum HD8 for quality I/O, for sure. Sean says, I'm very partial to PreSonus. Good! No desire to get any brand. Yeah, PreSonus is king, as far as I'm concerned. So Ron is here. He says, will the deadlines be included in the brief for the challenge? They most likely will be. But as Alpha correctly points out, December 19th is the deadline, and winners announced on the 21st. So we're talking December. So 19th December, 21st December. Eric says, I have 2 1818 VSLs. Good grief, those things are ancient. And you got a 44 VSL as well. Yeah, those things are absolutely... I'm not telling a lie here, Eric. Those things should be in a museum. Because they are terrific interfaces. And yes, they will work for a very long time. My dad, my guitar playing dad, he currently has my audio box, and it still works. And that thing, actually, it was Jonny Geib that gave me it way back in 2014, and he had it since 2009, I think. So it is like 16, 17 years old. It's, well, 16 years old, and it still works. Still works perfectly. The headphone input still works. The mic combi jack still works. The MIDI still works. Outputs still work. Yeah, it's great. Those things were built to be run over by trucks, as was demonstrated by a colleague of mine who is no longer with the company, Justin Spence. Justin is a great guy, and he had been at PreSonus for, I think, 15 years or so. He left in 2016 after the floods that happened in Baton Rouge. He started a construction company to basically help people rebuild their homes after they got destroyed by the floods. And he's still running that construction business today and doing incredibly well for himself. He's still involved in music. He still does some recordings and performances, and he does some mixing on the side, but his thing nowadays is the construction business, and he's doing very well for himself. But his truck was featured in the launch video for the audio box because they basically had him run it over, not just once, but twice. And then the music that was used in the video had been recorded through that interface after it had been run over twice. Just to show just how incredibly strong and robust those things are. Yeah, the audio boxes, the original ones, the audio box USB, they were built incredibly robust. Anyway, we are at the end of the show, folks. So, just to say, you may not have noticed, but my entire house is completely almost completely down with flu. My son has a raging fever, so he's been in bed all day. I've been in bed for most of the day trying to build up strength for tonight's show. Think I've achieved that, and I'm now going to go back to bed. So if you've got questions for Rich regarding the challenge, then you can follow that link to join the Lander session. Please, Rich, repost that link as well. That'd be helpful. I may join for a couple of minutes just to finish my cup of tea, and then I will be away to my bed. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Sunday. I will see you all back here on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified, and we will talk a little bit more about the challenge then as well. But the green light is on. Go make music, go write Christmas songs, and have a great time doing it. See you then, folks. Good night.
Uh-huh.